Hello everyone! As has been the case every Saturday for a while, we take another dive into the mysterious world of the Forgotten Languages website, exploring its ties with UFOs. Today's topic includes the origins of aliens and mass communication of alien knowledge. But before that, I would appreciate a lot if you could like, subscribe if you haven't yet, and share the video. This way we can spread the awareness of the UFO phenomenon, its reality, and our interaction with non-human intelligence as we draw near actual disclosure. Thank you. We return to the exploration of 2015, and the topic of UFOs and aliens took a backseat until July, when on the 21st the article titled "Where Do They Come From? Finding Place of Origin of Visitors Through Cumulative Radiation Structural Damage Analysis" was published. First, a few of my own thoughts. From all the hearsay and the accumulated evidence floating around in the UFO sphere, I am inclined to believe at this point in time that whatever non-human intelligences are visiting us or interacting with us, they likely have several points or vectors of origin. Very much in line with what Forgotten Languages actually says, just to mention Gizelians and Denebians, whom we have already seen a few times in this series. So, let's see what the English parts of the text say.
The samples show particulate contamination which is consistent with both Quame 3/1974 and Utah 1953, while the damage from meteoroid and debris impacts are similar to Ohio 1952. Pointing to a source located in the vicinity of Beta Hydrae.
Starting from the end here, we have the mention of an alien origin point, the star system of Beta Hydrae, or the second most bright star in the southern constellation of Hydrus. The star seems to be in the same stellar class as our Sun, G, but instead of being a yellow dwarf, it is a yellow subgiant instead, and it is located just short of 25 light-years away from us. The different star type does not preclude the existence of planets around it, but so far the search has been unsuccessful. Then we have the mentions of several UFO events. Koyama 1974 is a relatively well-known case in ufology, involving a crash of an alien craft in northern Mexico, with the US forces carrying out a retrieval operation. The excellent channel by UAP GERB has a detailed analysis of the case, and I would gladly recommend it if you want a really deep dive and a detailed info about the case. The two other cases do not ring a bell to me straight away, though Ohio is famous for the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, long considered to be the epicenter of all things related to UFO crashes and retrievals. 1953 was the year of the Kingman UFO incident, but that one took place in Arizona and not in Utah. Next, we hear some considerations of how to interpolate the location of such a craft.
How long a spacecraft has been traveling is tantamount to how long it has been exposed to the interstellar medium. UFO surface is therefore exposed to a flux of high energetic particles and accelerated oxygen atoms, which cause structural damage and erosion that can be used to infer how long the visiting spacecraft has been exposed to such radiation. This data can then be used to compute source of origin of these objects.
Well, this makes sense. Space is not completely empty even when it comes to matter, and then we also have radiation, a factor which even our modest space missions have to account for in the design and functioning of the craft used in them. And even aliens would still have to be at least partially reliant on matter, as we seem to observe UFOs as solid objects, some of which have allegedly crashed or landed and are in our possession now. The article also has a stellar map of our near neighborhood with Tau Ceti and Delta Pavonis, two of frequently cited candidates for Earth-like life marked on the map.
Recovered debris from 25 UFO crashes were analyzed in order to compute solar exposure, measured in sun hours and thermal cycles, together with computations of the levels of radiation exposure to both electron and proton radiation.
Now, we have heard the famous whistleblower David Grush mentioning a double-digit number of alien vehicles in US possession. Other figures like Martin Schellenberger, who brought Forgotten Languages into the congressional record in his testimony, mentioned between 10 and 15 craft, and physicist Dr. Jack Sarfati 13. On the other hand, we also recently had physicist Dr. Eric Davis mentioning the astounding number of 50 partially and fully intact craft in the possession of the USA. My very cautious calculations put the number of reliable cases close to 15, which would explain why most reports say the number of craft is in low double digits. But of course, that does not mean that the number is not higher. In the article, we next hear about the possible crash in Mauritania in northern Africa, so today's Morocco.
Data from samples recovered during the Mauritania event is consistent with the exposure to fluences of some 7 by 1010p/cm2, which clearly indicate the UFO was exposed to an intense solar flare for a long period of time, which most likely caused extensive damage to its operational components, which led to operational failure and subsequent crash. A calculated factor of enhanced degradation at low dose rate of 0.002 rad/s was also found in samples from Giselle, 1976.
We have Giselians again. Then we also have a list of stars, which at the very first glance seems to have characteristics quite similar to the Sun, whether as the origin points of possible aliens or not. The three groups include such stars located next or towards the most frequent subjects of SETI studies. We also have a mention of an analysis carried out on a Pentbridge UFO from 1964, and the mention of approximately half of the 25 craft we heard about before being from the star system of Tau Ceti.
The analyses of over 17,000 impacts of 33 to 60 microns on the Pentbridge UFO surfaces do not agree with the meteoroid and debris populations that one would expect for 1964, which calls for either a different origin of this particular craft. The erosion of the albi coating layer on these blankets by atomic oxygen is consistent with the Tau Ceti source for 12 of the 25 samples analyzed. Assuming the debris recovered belonged not to a scout probe, but to an object which covered the complete distance from the proposed source to Sol, 3 at 0.3 to 0.5 c. Except for the Pentbridge object, we can safely assume Alpha Mensi and Tau Ceti as the most likely origin of these visitors.
So, we heard about many of the possible sources of alien civilizations. The interesting thought here is that in cosmic or even galactic scale, the distances to the listed stars are really short actually. In the next article, dated to the last 31st of July, we hear the considerations titled Saraswati and the Neutron Stars, Stellar Library and the Flow of Knowledge. Saraswati is a Hindu goddess of, well, exactly knowledge, language and culture. And this is exactly what the article touches upon, the repositories of accumulated heritage of alien civilizations.
Though neutron stars radiate very intense beams, you still need massive detectors to realize this type of communication. That the decryption of the modulated neutrino signals still requires being able to detect hidden photons to extract the information conveyed by those intense beams speaks about a level of technological achievement which is still far away from most galactic civilizations. Only when you have achieved an advanced technological development, a planetary communion of all the inhabitants of a world, and a mastering of the hidden quantum sector, can you attempt to gain access to the vast knowledge contained in those intelligently designed beacons.
First, we have the tone set. We are talking about really old and really powerful alien civilizations here. The article expands upon this later on, that only really advanced technology would be capable of firing away the equivalent of our golden plates put on board the Voyager craft, but just orders and orders of magnitude more complex.
The glimpsing heat from Alien Technologies survey isolated 3 clear beacon candidates, 2 of which sweep our position within the galaxy. The idea is that a highly advanced civilization is able to predict the collapse of their world, and it would seem natural for them to preserve all of their knowledge by using the Saraswati machine, a complex stellar engineering structure by virtue of which electromagnetic pulses are used to modulate the neutrino radiation from a neutron star in such a way that their entire knowledge, their entire culture, can be encoded and radiated across the universe to distant places and thus be preserved. For the entire age of the universe, whatever the final fate of their home stellar system.
The tone here is quite sad. We are considering the twilight years of entire species, possibly even larger conglomerates of alien thought, achievements and stories. But like everything made of matter in the universe, even that must eventually die and decay, as aliens would have to be beholden to entropy to the best of our knowledge. By sending such beacons using neutrinos as the medium, one which can travel virtually any distance with virtually no loss of information, they would ensure quasi-immortality of their heritage, as we read in the text.
We are clearly talking here about a Type 3 supercivilization, or perhaps a Type 2 civilization in its latter stage. By using radioactive ions and modulating the neutron star neutrino beam, one can produce clean, intense neutrino beams with specific spectra. Such beams could encode information that can be sent to all corners of the universe with a minimum degradation. The electromagnetic modulation is possible due to the features of the hyperfine structure of H-like ions, of which the Sarawasti machine seems to be a prolific source.
To end this video, we'll go back to the one alien race which the Forgotten Languages invokes ever so often. The Gizelians, known from the 1976 Iran UFO incidents and also presumably behind the most famous Brazilian UFO cases from Colares and Varginha. We also mentioned beacons used in alien communication and the possibility that Gizelians have planted them on the Earth before.
As the neutron star does not radiate anisotropically, and as the beam is clearly directed to specific directions in space, could this explain why Gizelian are interested in Sol 3? Could it be their home planet, whatever that is intersected by the beam of another neutron star, yet they need to also decode the beam intersecting Sol 3 in order to get the complete original message?
There we are. It is an interesting thought that even the Gizelians, who are rumored to be very powerful, at least the Kardashev Type 2 civilization, would still need to adapt to technology which may be superior to their own in order to decipher it. But the text also implies between the lines that they are perfectly capable of such a feat, so they would be technologically close to the mysterious senders. So, what are your thoughts, dear viewers? Do you think there is a specific point of origin for the aliens we claim to see on the Earth and in our skies? And likewise, do you believe the universe may be full of alien communication? Let me know in the comments section down below. I am trying to keep up with the series, but there is also a whole lot going on the disclosure front. Between the material published by the Pentagon, videos from Ukraine and shown in the latest documentary by Jeremy Corbell, it sure is an interesting time to stay informed about UFOs. And I will try to do just that, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon in another video. Take care.